Welcome to TapToKnowX. Today, we're exploring the hidden stories behind the everyday things we never question, our world's default settings. Why do we accept things like the keyboard layout, school grades, or our odd calendar without a second thought? These seemingly mundane details have fascinating origins, quirks of history, innovation, and sometimes pure chance. Let's dig into the little things we never question, but probably should. Ready to see your world a little differently? Let's get into it. First up, the QWERTY keyboard. It's something you probably use every single day, whether you're typing an email, searching the web, or sending a quick message. But have you ever stopped to wonder why the keys are arranged in this seemingly random order? Why this odd arrangement instead of A to Z? Wouldn't it make more sense for the letters to be in alphabetical order, just like the ABCs we all learned as kids? It seems logical, but the story behind your keyboard is anything but straightforward. The answer goes back to the 1870s and the invention of the mechanical typewriter. Back then, typing was a brand new technology, and inventors were still figuring out the best way to make it work. Early typewriters had a big problem. When people typed too quickly, the metal arms that struck the paper would collide and jam. This was especially true for common letter pairs like TH or ER, which often appear together in English words. Christopher Latham Scholes, the inventor, realized that if he could slow typists down just a bit, he could prevent these jams. So he rearranged the keys, spreading out commonly used letters so they were farther apart. This forced typists to move their fingers more, reducing the chance of jams. QWERTY was born, not for speed, but for reliability. The layout was a clever workaround for a mechanical flaw, not a design for human efficiency. Remington, a major typewriter manufacturer, adopted the QWERTY layout for its machines. Soon, typing schools and businesses everywhere were teaching people to use this new system. It quickly became the standard, and millions of people learned to type the QWERTY way. Even after typewriters evolved and jamming was no longer an issue, the layout stuck. By then, too many people had already learned QWERTY, and it was too late to change course. The momentum was unstoppable. Alternatives like Dvorak and Colmac exist, designed for speed and comfort, but QWERTY's head start and our collective muscle memory keep it dominant. These newer layouts promise faster typing and less strain, but convincing the world to switch is a huge challenge. Billions have learned QWERTY. Switching would be a massive, costly effort. Imagine retraining every typist, rewriting every manual, and updating every keyboard in the world. The cost and confusion would be enormous. It's a classic case of path dependence. A solution to a long-gone problem still shapes our digital lives. Once a standard is set, it's incredibly hard to change, even if better options come along. So next time you type, remember you're using a relic of the mechanical age, not the most efficient tool for today. The keyboard beneath your fingers is a living fossil, a daily reminder of how history shapes technology. The QWERTY keyboard is a perfect example of how history lingers in our daily routines. Generations have grown up with it, and it's become second nature, even if it's not the best design. Sometimes the best solution isn't the one we end up with, it's just the one that got there first. The path we take is often shaped by chance, habit, and the decisions of those who came before us. And that's why your keyboard looks the way it does. It's a story of invention, adaptation, and the power of tradition. The next time you fumble for a key, blame the 19th century. The quirks of old machines still echo in every tap you make. It's a reminder that not all defaults are logical. They're just what's stuck. Sometimes the world runs on habits, not on what makes the most sense. So are you ready to challenge the next default? Let's move on. On to the next everyday mystery. Now let's talk about grades, those familiar letters, A, B, C, D, and F. For generations, these symbols have shaped how we think about success and failure in school. Whether you remember the thrill of seeing an A or the sinking feeling of an F, these grades are more than just marks on paper. They're a language we all seem to understand. But have you ever wondered why we use these particular letters? And what happened to the letter E? Why does it skip straight from D to F? It's a question that's puzzled students and parents alike. Before the late 1800s, grading was a wild west of notes, numbers, and personal comments. Teachers used everything from descriptive phrases to percentage scores, and there was little consistency from one classroom to the next. Imagine trying to compare your progress with a friend at another school, nearly impossible. That all began to change in 1897, when Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts popularized the AF system. Their goal was to bring order and standardization to a chaotic process, making it easier to compare student achievement across classes and even schools. Interestingly, the original system did include an E, which stood for fail. But over time, educators worried that E might be confused with excellent, so it was dropped. The F took its place as the universal symbol for failure, a letter that still sends shivers down many spines. The F became a kind of shorthand for falling short, a mark that could overshadow all the effort that came before it. It's a powerful symbol, and for better or worse, it's stuck around. The AF system spread rapidly because it was simple, easy to communicate, and made calculating things like GPAs straightforward. Schools, colleges, and employers all found it convenient to use. But this simplicity comes at a cost. Reducing a spectrum of learning, growth, and effort into just a handful of letters can flatten the rich, complex story of a student's journey. It's a system that can motivate but also create anxiety and pressure. Even as new ways to communicate progress have emerged, percentages, detailed rubrics, even emojis on digital report cards, the AF system remains stubbornly persistent. It's familiar, and that makes it hard to let go. Why does it endure? Because everyone knows what it means. Students, parents, teachers, and even employers can instantly interpret those letters, no matter where they're from. Changing the system would mean re-educating millions of people, rewriting policies, and rethinking how we measure achievement. It's a massive undertaking, and so the old system stays. So the next time you see an A or an F on a report card, remember, you're looking at a 19th century artifact, a relic of a time when education was just beginning to standardize. It's another default that's stuck around, shaping our lives and expectations, even as the world and our understanding of learning have evolved. So next time you see a grade, pause for a moment. It's not just an evaluation, it's a piece of history, a symbol of how we've chosen to measure achievement for over a century. Let's see what other relics we live with. Why do we have 12 months, and why are September, October, November, and December out of sync with their Latin roots? The answer lies in the fascinating, sometimes chaotic history of ancient Rome, a story of politics, power, and the relentless march of time. The earliest Roman calendar was a bit of a mess. It had just 10 months, beginning with March and ending with December. Back then, the names made perfect sense. September was the 7th month, October the 8th, November the 9th, and December the 10th, all matching their Latin number roots. But what about winter? The Romans simply left it as a nameless, monthless gap, an uncounted stretch of cold days that didn't fit into their calendar at all. That changed when King Numa Pompilius, Rome's legendary second king, decided to bring order to the chaos. He added 2 new months, January and February, at the start of the year, giving us the 12-month structure we know today. But the calendar still wasn't perfect. Centuries later, Julius Caesar took charge. He introduced the Julian calendar, a major reform that added leap years to keep the seasons in sync with the months. This was a huge leap forward for timekeeping. The months themselves became a canvas for imperial pride. Quintilis was renamed July to honor Julius Caesar, and Sextilis became August for Augustus Caesar. These changes weren't just about vanity, they also shifted the calendar's structure. That's why both July and August have 31 days. Emperors wanted their months to stand out. As a result, the original month names like September and October were pushed further out of alignment with their numerical roots. Fast forward to 1582 when Pope Gregory XIII introduced the Gregorian calendar. This reform fixed the leap year problem, making our calendar more accurate, but it kept the Roman structure and the names that had been passed down for centuries. So the calendar we use today is really a patchwork quilt, stitched together from ancient reforms, imperial egos, and the practical needs of farmers, priests, and politicians. It's a living record of how humans have tried to measure and control time. Every time you check the date on your phone or flip a page on your wall calendar, you're interacting with a system shaped by thousands of years of Roman history and the ambitions of powerful leaders. The oddities in our months, the mismatched names, the uneven days, are echoes of emperors, ancient politics, and the compromises of history. It's a reminder that even something as basic as timekeeping is shaped by the quirks and decisions of people long gone. Our calendar is a living fossil, a timeline of human civilization's attempts to bring order to the chaos of days and seasons. So next time you wonder why September is the 9th month instead of the 7th, remember to thank the Romans and all the rulers who left their mark on history. Our calendar is a living fossil, imperfect but persistent. It's a daily reminder that history is always with us, even in the way we count our days. Why do clock hands move clockwise? The answer: sundials in the northern hemisphere. Early timekeepers watched the sun's shadow move from left to right as the day passed. When mechanical clocks were invented in Europe, they mimicked this familiar motion. If clocks had been invented in the southern hemisphere, they might run the other way. Once clockwise was set, it became the standard for dials, knobs, and more. It's a convention born from geography and history, not necessity. So every time you check the time, you're following the path of ancient shadows. Even the direction of time is a historical default. It's another example of how our world is shaped by the past. Let's keep unraveling these everyday mysteries. Next up, why does red mean stop? Why is red the universal color for stop and danger? Science's first red light has the longest wavelength, so it's visible from farther away, even in fog or rain. That made it perfect for early railway signals. Engineers needed to see stop from a distance. When cars and traffic lights arrived, red was already the color of danger. There's also psychology. Red grabs our attention and signals urgency. It's the color of fire, blood, and warning signs in nature. So, red's dominance is a mix of physics, history, and instinct. The next time you stop at a red light, remember it's not just a rule. It's a carefully chosen signal, rooted in science and tradition. Our reactions are shaped by centuries of precedent. Even color isn't arbitrary, it's a product of what works best. Let's move to a superstition you probably know. Why do we knock on wood? Knock on wood, why do we do it? The roots go back to ancient pagan cultures that believed trees housed spirits. Knocking was thought to summon protection or ward off bad luck. It was a way to thank or appease the spirits, or to ground your luck in something sacred. As Christianity spread, the ritual lost its spiritual meaning but stuck around as a harmless superstition. Today most people do it out of habit, not belief. It's a fossilized piece of folklore, an ancient ritual hiding in plain sight. Next time you knock on wood, remember, you're echoing a time when forests were magical and trees were divine. Even our superstitions are historical defaults. Let's see how we mark the start of our weeks. Sunday or Monday, which is the first day? Is Sunday or Monday the first day of the week? Sunday's claim comes from religious tradition. Christianity marks it as the Lord's Day, the start of a new cycle. Calendars in many countries still list Sunday first, but for work and school, Monday is the real beginning for most people. The International Organization for Standardization, ISO, officially defines Monday as the first day for business and global standards. So we live with a dual system, Sunday for tradition, Monday for practicality. Which you choose depends on your culture, your job, or even your calendar app. It's a subtle but telling example of how old customs and modern life coexist. Even the week's rhythm is a historical compromise. Let's finish with a symbol of love. Why the left ring finger for wedding rings? Here's the story. Why do we wear wedding rings on the fourth finger of the left hand? Ancient Romans believed in the vena amoris, a vein running straight from that finger to the heart. It's a beautiful myth, but anatomically false. The tradition stuck because it felt romantic and meaningful. The left hand was also less used, so the ring was safer there. Over centuries, the symbolism became more important than the science. Today, the ring finger is a global sign of commitment, even though the vein of love doesn't exist. It's a tradition powered by emotion, not fact. Sometimes a good story is all it takes for a custom to endure. Every wedding ring is a link to ancient beliefs about love and the body. Our most cherished rituals are often built on beautiful myths, and that's the power of tradition. So there you have it, a whirlwind tour of the hidden histories behind our everyday defaults. From QWERTY keyboards to wedding rings, our lives are shaped by old solutions, ancient beliefs, and a few lucky accidents. Once you know the backstory, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Which of these surprised you most? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe for more everyday wonders on TapToKnowX. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.